We are more or less engaged in conversation throughout our day. Whether we're doing errands, in a meeting, dealing with children, or on the phone, we are talking to each other. It's so natural, so ordinary, that we don't give it too much thought. If it's so natural, then why is interpersonal communication so complicated? Shouldn't it be straightforward? What is going on in conversation that makes talking to each other so complicated and at times risky? The Communication Styles Framework gives us a direct answer to these questions. How we process information is directly related to how we listen and speak, where 7 active components drive our communication style. These 7 components configure differently for each of us, which means that there are as many communication styles as there are individuals. Let's look at them one at a time. First, the intra-personal, the part of us that thinks internally, processing thoughts, feelings, intentions, motivations, and goals before being comfortable enough to engage in meaningful discussion. Some of us have a strong intrapersonal component. Second, the interpersonal, the part of us that thinks out loud, openly exploring thoughts and feelings in a free-flowing, exploratory manner, figuring it out as you go, gaining clarity through engagement with others. Some of us have a strong interpersonal component. Third, the linguistic component. Those who think in words, conceptualizing in language, are strongly interested in the precise meaning of words, the structure of language itself. They use this strength to derive meaning and achieve understanding, as opposed to those of us who use words more impressionistically. Fourth, the logical component. Those strong in logic need to achieve understanding based on what they know to be true. They like to quantify, evaluate, often play devil's advocate, trying to get to the bottom of things to make sure it all makes sense, finding the logical conclusion. Fifth, the visual-spatial component, thinking in pictures, seeing in the mind's eye the relationship between objects, ideas, and feelings, thinking symbolically and using metaphor to express and understand. Some see still or moving pictures where meaning and understanding relate in complex ways. Sixth, the auditory component. Those with a strong auditory component are sound sensitive. The volume, pitch, rhythm, and timbre of the voice communicates a great deal of information. Meaning and understanding are deepened by the sound quality. Seventh, the kinesthetic component. Think of how we use gestures, how our whole body experiences in sensation and then expresses itself in movement. It is through direct experience that those strong in this area derive meaning and achieve understanding. These 7 communication components come together differently in each of us, depending on how we're wired, to form our unique communication style, independent of our sex, gender identity, or personality. It is not who we are, it is how we are. So now let's look in on Jack and Jill. They can bicker about, well, just about anything, often trying to prove who is right and who is wrong. They challenge each other constantly. The pattern has become predictable and both are weary of it. Jill talked to a friend who told her about the Communication Styles Framework and loaned her a copy of Do You Know What I Mean? Pretty quickly, Jill identified strongly with 2 components. She shared her discoveries with Jack, who became interested and began making his own discoveries. Jack realized that he tends to think out loud. Jill realized that she tends to think internally. Epiphanies were popping. Jack was always trying to pull things out of Jill before she had developed clarity internally, and Jill thought Jack was a little nutty because he said everything that came into his mind. Jill also discovered that she is strong in the visual-spatial, but not the linguistic. Although she's clear about her thoughts and feelings internally, she has a hard time expressing them in words. So Jack learned to ask her to describe the picture she was seeing internally. What a difference that made. Jack realized that he is auditory sensitive. He reacts strongly to the way something sounds to him, and that he was often too aggressive with Jill when the sound of her voice communicated tentativeness. She wasn't being evasive. She was just pondering and trying to figure something out. At work, Jill shared the communication styles framework with her team. As they went around the table, they discovered that all 7 components were well represented. This helped the team members use each other's strengths to improve productivity, problem solve more creatively, and prepare better presentations. When Jack shared the communication styles framework with his team at work, they discovered that Jack's leadership style was rooted in the interpersonal. He's always seeking engagement with the others, which inadvertently disrupted their process. Together, they found a way to account for these differences. Through the communication styles framework, Jack and Jill learned how to ask questions more thoughtfully, account better for individual differences, realizing that not everyone is processing information in the same way. They became more accepting, less judgmental. Learn to communicate more skillfully with your strengths. Discover how your strengths can also get you into trouble. Learn the communication tools best suited to your style. The goal of interpersonal communication is to achieve understanding, and remember, it's all about the relationship.